Hi there guys, got part 2 here in my little video series on making a muzzle brake we can turn into a moderator. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I'll leave a link in the corner there, but in this video what we're going to be doing is making the moderator section. So let's go over to the lathe and I'll show you how I've done it. Right then, so this part should be nice and easy. This is the piece of material that we're going to be using to make the moderator section of the muzzle brake. What I've gone ahead and done off camera is just turn a spigot down on this end so we can easily grip it in the lathe. Then when we need to mill the baffle sections out, we can just put this in a collet block and we have access to this area here. What we need to do in the lathe is turn the outside profile, so we're going to get that done first. And that just consists of turning the OD down to 36mm, then turning a stepped section so that our carbon fibre can be pressed over it, then finally threading the end to suit our muzzle brake, which again is M12x1, so we'll be able to screw that like that. With that done, that's the rough profile of the part sorted out. Our thread is ready to go on this section here. This section has been turned to just over 34mm so that our carbon fibre is a nice press fit over it. The carbon fibre that we're going to be using for this project is matte and 36mm OD, 34mm ID. And making it a press fit just means that we don't have to glue the carbon fibre onto the piece. Up next, what I'm going to be doing is bringing back over my knurling tool and putting a nice knurl on this section here. That'll just make it a little easier to install and remove from the end of the muzzle brake when it's all built up. Right then, the next thing we're going to be doing is cutting the thread on the end of the piece of work. And as I do that, I thought I'd give you a quick look at the controls and briefly run through them. So starting off with this red lever here, this is our on-off switch. As you can see at the moment, it's in a lockout. All we need to do is pull it towards us. Then if we were to push the lever down, that would turn the lathe on in clockwise. Pulling the lever up turns it on in counterclockwise. Next, this is our threading lever, so pushing this lever down engages the half nuts, and as the lathe spins, this rod spins and then advances the carriage both forward and back, depending on the rotation of the chuck. This is our threading lever, so this only gets engaged when we actually start threading. And to the left of that we have the standard feed lever. So this gets engaged when we actually take a cut of material, and then as the lathe is switched on, the carriage moves towards the chuck, taking material off at a specified rate. I'm quite lucky with this lathe. This lathe has two feeds, so in this direction here, the carriage, or this part of the bed, moves on its own accord. And then if we push the lever in, then down, that engages the cross-slide travel, so the cross-slide will actually go in and out as the lathe spins round. Both of those settings there help us get a real good surface finish both along the length of the bed and when we feed in to face the piece of material off. The next two wheels are nice and easy. This one here just controls the position of the saddle along the bed, and this one here just controls the cross slide, moves it in and out Obviously this is the piece that we use when we take a cut, so winding in takes a deeper cut, winding out takes less of a cut or removes the tool from the work. The only other one here is the top slide, so this piece here is at an angle, so we can cut specified angles if we need to, and that's on a separate feed, so this wheel here just comes in and out as we need it to. With that said, we'll take a cut for the camera, so we'll move the carriage into position, touch off our tool, I've already pre-selected the gearbox, so the lathe is set up to cut a thread, and it's cutting a thread of 1mm pitch. I've touched off the tool and we're ready to take our first cut. So we'll wind in a cut with this. And once we're happy, we can turn the lathe on, then engage the feed. That's pretty much the process there. As the tool gets close to the shoulder, we switch the lathe off and then wind the tool out. Once we're at this stage, we can then put the lathe in reverse to bring the tool back to the starting position, then take a deeper cut and continue on the process. With the hole drilled all the way through the piece, that's pretty much all we can do on the lathe. We now need to move the part over to the mill and get the chambers milled out. Before we do that though, I thought I'd just show you that the muzzle brake screws on there nice and securely. And if we spin the lathe up, you can check the run out on the end here. As you can see, it's running nice and true. I did put an indicator on there, and the total indicatable runout, or TIR, is about 0.05mm, so 2 thou. Plenty good enough for this application. So what we're going to do now is move the part over to the mill, and we'll get the chambers milled out. And here's the part mounted in the mill, so this is how we're going to mill out the baffle chamber in the end here. What I've gone ahead and done is got the part set up in my spindexer, and what we're going to be doing is milling 1/2 from this side, and we can unlock the spindexer, rotate the part round 180 degrees, then mill the other side out. We will get an internal join where the two milling operations meet. However, as this piece is always going to be covered up by a piece of carbon, you'll never see that, and I'm not too worried about it. As for the baffle chamber itself, I am going to be going with one large one instead of two smaller ones. We already have quite a few small ones in the muzzle brake section, so having a different sized baffle section may be useful. But whatever the case, the first thing we're going to do is drill out some waste material, then come back with our end mill and get it all milled out. Right then, so that's how I made the moderator adapter section. The only parts you didn't see me do was face off the end, finish off this end of the adapter, as well as cutting the carbon fibre. Unfortunately, the footage that I took got corrupted somehow, so I didn't want to put that in, but it was nice and simple to do. All I did was part the end off, used a boring bar to create this recess on the front here, and then used my tool post grinder to cut the carbon fibre to length, then square up the ends. So real simple jobs, but unfortunately there was no footage. With that said, the brake itself isn't 100% finished yet. I still do obviously have to anodise it black, and I didn't get a chance just to turn the decorative chamfer on the end yet, so I'll do that at a later date. For now though, to install the end piece into the carbon fibre is nice and easy. All we do is get it started, then I can just push it into position. And when I do that, it looks something like that. So we have our end piece pushed into our carbon fibre tube, then we install that over the muzzle brake. As you can see, it covers up all the baffles. So the question that you're probably asking at the moment is, does a setup like this actually work? So a muzzle brake's job is to reduce the felt recoil from the rifle as you take a shot, and a moderator's job is to reduce the noise that you hear from the end of the rifle when you take a shot, and I'm happy to say both of these things work flawlessly. Now this is a sub 12 pound rifle, and you don't really get any recoil to begin with, but the recoil you do feel is reduced when you put the muzzle brake on the end. To be honest with you, it's not something that you see in your scope crosshairs, but you do feel it in your shoulder as you shoot the rifle. With the muzzle brake on the end, the recoil that you feel is less, and with the moderator on the end, the noise from the rifle is quite dramatically reduced. The moderator itself is more effective than the standard FX can style mod, although I will say it's not the quietest mod I've ever made. There is no rapping or anything like that, so that is understandable, and obviously with a setup like this with dual purposes, it's never going to be as good as one with just a singular purpose. Having said that though, I'm more than happy with the results and everything seems to be working as it should at the moment. So the last thing we'll do is just take a shot with the moderator on. As always when testing moderators, you need to be here in person in order to hear how quiet it is, but I'll do my best to balance the audio levels so that you get an accurate representation of what it actually sounds like. Right then, the last thing I want to do is just show you how the rifle shot with both the muzzle brake and moderator adapter installed. So these two top rows up here were done using just the muzzle brake, then these two bottom rows here were done using the muzzle brake and the moderator adapter. All these groups here were done at 50 yards and we shot 5 shot groups. The average edge-to-edge measurement of the muzzle brake groups was 13.25mm, and the average edge-to-edge group measurement of the muzzle brake and the moderator adapter was around 14mm. So I'm really quite happy with those results there, and they were slightly improved over the standard FX can mod, so again I'm really quite happy. Overall, for probably 90% of shooting, I'm going to be keeping the moderator adapter installed over the brake. However, if I were to ever use the rifle to do anything like bench rest or something like that, I'd probably take the adapter off and just use it as the muzzle brake, as that was slightly more accurate. The only other thing I'll show you is just some real slow-mo footage of me shooting the rifle with the muzzle brake installed. If you look really closely, you can see a small puff of air coming from the side of the brake as we take the shot. Again, this is a sub 12 pound rifle, so the amount of air used to propel the pellet is fairly small, but I thought it was interesting anyway. With that all said and done, that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video, so thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been interesting or useful, and we'll see you in the next one.